Hello everyone, welcome back to The Real Starfighter, and today I want to start talking about the tier list I'm going to do for the playstyles. So what I'm going to do for these is I'm going to put the factions into tier lists based on how well they play a certain playstyle. Reason why I want to do that is because when you're trying to build a list based off playstyles, it's good to know where to start. Like, I don't want to try to build an ace playstyle list and then start off not the best place for aces. I want to make sure I start off in the best place for aces or control or swarms. So today we're going to do control, and that's where we're going to start our journey as control, because I've been a big fan of control lists lately. So I want to do our first one on control. So with Imperial, I'm going to say for the Empire, they're a good tier 2. Reason why I say that is because they do have the best, in my opinion, the best control ship in the game, and that is the TIE Reaper. The TIE Reaper is really good because it combines control and aggro, but other than TIE Reaper, there's not too much control you have. They have some cool control upgrade cards, like Grand Inquisitor's pretty cool control. Darth Vader's very good. They have more good control upgrades than they do pilots. And when I think about X-Wing Miniatures, when I'm playing a game, I'm more likely going to have the pilots on the board than the upgrade cards. And I've said that 1,000 times when talking about 2.0, that 2.0 is all about the pilots. So when we do these, just keep in mind I'm thinking about the pilots first and the upgrade second. So for Empire, they have great control upgrades, not a lot of good control pilots, but tons of good control upgrades. So if you're looking for, making a decimator with a bunch of control components, then go Empire. If you're trying to load up one ship with a bunch of control, go for that. But for control pilots, you're not going to find too much in Empire, but they do have good control upgrade cards. For Separatists, I'm going to say they're tier 3. There are some really good control components. There are really good control parts to Separatists. But again, you have to be together. There's some really crazy things they can do. They have really good triggers, really, for, like I said, for more swarms. But they do some control stuff really well. It's just far and few, but I don't think they're completely blown out of the water in this case. So Separatists, they're tier 3 control. You're not going to find a lot there, but there are some crazy interactions. Like Count Dooku has some pretty cool interactions. So if you're going to count Dooku, that's a really good one. Again, more about the upgrades than about the pilots. Kind of same deal with Empire, but just not as many upgrades as Empire has. For First Order, they're kind of in between here, in between 2 and 3. So we're going to just give them a high-end 3. There's not a lot of control in here, but like I said, I could put them in 2 here because you could argue about Omega Leader. Omega Leader is absolutely busted with, getting the target lock and saying you can't do anything and all that stuff. So that's kind of why I teeter-totter between the 2. Maybe I'll put it tier 2 because Omega Leader is really powerful. Is pretty much the definition of control. There are some other control elements. There are, offering strains, offering deplete tokens throughout their stuff. They do debuff themselves, but it is for control components. So again, I think First Order can be in between these 2, but because First Order has Omega Leader, I think you gotta go lower tier 2 on that, just because Omega Leader's so prominent with it. With Resistance, now Resistance is a really weird one. I don't think it's tier 1. Definitely thinking more around the tier 2 range, even tier 3, just because there's just not a lot of control. They do have some great control ships. They do have the control ships in the transports that are really good, but it's really more of a debuff, or more of a buffing thing or negating thing. Your control components don't come too much from it. So again, kind of a tier 3 feel. Not a lot of super high-end control. It's more about helping out each other and buffing each other rather than negating your opponent. But there are some mild control things, kind of like with Separatists. So I think they can go in the same tier for sure. For Republic, Republic actually is tier 1 to me. Reason why is because you have a huge library of control with the Jedi Starfighters. Luminara comes to mind, I believe is Luminara, who has the control abilities to hold on to tokens and such. One of the 2, or it's either Luminara or Aayla Secura, one of the 2. And then you have the plethora of clones who are very good at what they do, helping one another. But with things like suppressive gunner, re-rolling, and just tons of other things that help the defensive side, just with passive mods and the suppressive gunner upgrades and Captain Rex and Cody, there's just a lot of really good control components, both in ship and upgrade, that make Republic pretty powerful in terms of control. They're not the best at it. Most of their control comes from helping each other out, but there is a huge level of control when it comes from Republic. So I do think Republic is pretty good at control. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way, but I think Republic's pretty good at it. And then Rebellion, sorry to say it, but Rebellion's really not good at the control gameplay. They're just not. Their control mitigation really comes from selflessness, or selfless is not selflessness anymore. Selfless, and being able to just kind of spread out the damage. So that's our main control function, is basically spreading out the damage, passing damage to other people, or taking damage to remove things. They're good at control removal, but not good at doing control themselves. Your control gameplay is so hard, and I think that there's only very few things that have control components. First one comes to my mind is Fenrir and the Shi'Ethapede, but the Shi'Ethapede is not a very powerful ship in terms of dial and maneuvering, so it's kind of hard to get off. The double arcs help, but I really can't think of anything super control based. Other than Kanan. Kanan also is pretty good control with removing a die, but then you're trying to put a big old ghost on the field, which is, very vulnerable, can only do as many times as Kanan has force charges. So there's just very limiting control options. They're not the best at control. So there are definitely other options. So Rebel Alliance, if you're looking for control gameplay, just don't look at Rebel Alliance. It's unfortunate because Rebel Alliance is probably my favorite faction of the 7, but there's just really no good control components lately. They were huge on control in 1.0, huge on control in 1.0. There's so many control ships, but in 2.0, all that control went away. It basically became a bunch of handshakes to help one another and support one another, and that's where all the power went, was just to help one another as opposed to control your opponent. For Scum and Villainy, I think you all probably saw this coming. There's no question. They're tier 0. They're the definition of control gameplay. They are the definition of control gameplay. The list of things that control stop your opponent is as long as a Walgreens receipt. It's intense. It's amazing. Torko mucks everything in the Hawk. You even got the Dogfighters and the Protectorate Starfighters that offer great control. You have even the Star Vipers do something. The Slave One does something. The Houndstooth does, everyone has something that does something in the terms of control. Everything in Scum and Villainy is about stopping your opponent from getting off their crazy stuff so you can do your crazy stuff. I mean, every ship in Scum and Villainy has some sort of control component. And it's insane. You can make a whole list of control of just the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks are really powerful when it comes to control. Just thinking about Torko Mux or Paylob, that just goes, give me your token. There's robs you. I mean, there's tons of things that they do in Scum and Villainy that's just okay, I guess that is going to happen. It's so mean, the control aspect of Scum and Villainy, but it fits them perfectly. I mean, it fits what they do perfectly. They have great pilots that do control, and they have great upgrades that do control. There's so many of them. Again, as long as a Walgreens receipt of the list of things that they have that control your opponent. So it's pretty safe to say that Scum and Villainy is the king of control lists. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of the tiers, of the factions. Argue with me. Tell me what you guys would put certain factions above one another. Just let me know. If this video helped you out, share it with a friend. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. This place crawls, and remember to always check your 6.